Hello again. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. This week, we're going to take a look at Canada's top real estate con artists. I would say con men, but there is a few women in this mix too. And I've actually been involved with one of these con artists, one of the con men, many years ago, and I have firsthand experience, and it can happen to you. And if you don't think it can, read these stories, and these guys are tricky, and these gals are tricky too. But first, I want to talk about my trip to the USA this past weekend. I went there for a couple of days or 3 nights over the weekend. I stopped at the Annapolis Boat Show. I've been meaning to go. I've never been, so that was exciting for me because I love boating. And I stopped by Washington, D.C., because I've never seen the White House in person either. But driving through the U.S., you see good places and bad places. Now, there isn't a bunch of ICE agents waiting to pick up Canadians and deport us back to Canada, mind you. I had no issues at all there. I was actually less nervous about entering the U.S. than I was coming back, thinking they're going to charge me duty on a couple of bottles of wine. But anyway, I'm not going to get into too much politics here. But regardless, I'm driving through the U.S., driving through some, again, nice places and some not so nice places, and thinking like, oh, I wonder how much a house would be here. And so I look on Zillow. I'm checking out house prices in the areas I had driven through that I thought were kind of neat. And of course, it led me to this post here. Canada versus USA, median after-tax household income versus the median home price in 2024. And this is all in US dollars. I have done stuff like this previously in Canada only based on average price and average household income after tax. Again, very hard to get the data on that too, but I did come up with pretty accurate numbers here, and someone fact-checked me using Grok, and Grok said this is pretty accurate. So Canada, the average house in US dollars, or sorry, I should say the median house in US dollars was 435,000 approximately in 2024, and the median household income after taxes was $54,000 US, and it was about 72 or something Canadian dollars. And that gives us a median house price in Canada of 8.1 times the median income. And when we go to the US, $415,000 was the median house price, and the median household income was $72,000 after tax, readily available on the Fred statistics website, and that was 5.8 times the median household income. So you can see the difference there when we actually look at the numbers and crunch them right down to US dollars. Canadian house prices are a lot more your median household income than it is in the US, and they have a lot more opportunity. Now, other people brought up certain points, healthcare and whatnot, but I'm not going to get into that because a lot of jobs in the U.S. come with the healthcare insurance and whatever else. But that is the raw data here. House prices in Canada are a lot more expensive when you compare them to the U.S. and median household incomes. Check out this next post here from Red. This Canadian student travels by airplane to his studies to bypass the cost of rent. This is just insane. So this guy goes to school, I think, in Vancouver somewhere. He lives in Calgary or in Alberta somewhere. And he has to literally take a plane. It's cheaper than renting a place in Vancouver. But hopefully you can hear this here. I've been having some trouble with my audio. But yeah, this is what the news has to say about it.
The arts student flies twice a week from Calgary to Vancouver, saving big bucks on rent.
I need to pay like $2,500 for the rent. I don't feel that is viable.
He pays roughly $150 per round-trip flight twice a week, about $1,200 per month total. That's half the average rent for a one-bedroom in the city.
I thought, why don't I just stay at Calgary and then just fly here, 1 hour flight.
That's crazy. It's just cheaper to fly, I guess, than it is to rent a place near your university. From the Weekly Voice, BMO warns Canadian housing slump mirrors 2007 U.S. crash. Canada's real estate market is showing all the signs of a bubble that's already deflating, according to a new report from BMO Capital Markets. The bank warns that housing prices have been falling, and it goes on. Oh, you don't say, do you? Steve Saretsky, asking rents in Canada fell 3.2% in September. This was the 12th consecutive month of the year-over-year declines. This followed 38 consecutive months of rent increases between August 2021 and September 2024. Nature is healing. Yeah, well, we need a good few more months here because look at that during the pandemic there, or I guess just after the 2020 start of the pandemic. Yeah, it was crazy. And now they have been coming back somewhat, but I think they're going to have to fall a little bit more or wages are going to have to increase. Almost two-thirds of landlords in Toronto are offering rental incentives right now per Urbanation. And there it is. Purpose-built rental projects offering incentives in Q2. 65% of landlords are offering incentives. This looks like this is from a U.S., I think he's a real estate agent, a commercial one maybe. You have to take 1,000 hours of training to get a barber's license in Texas, but you only have to take 180 hours of a bogus online course to get a real estate license. Your hair will grow back if you get a bad haircut. Your money will not grow back if you lose millions because you hired a residential agent for your commercial deal. These commercial agents hate residential agents, by the way. All right, let's get into these real estate or these Canadian real estate con artists, men and women, ripping you off. I want to go through, this is just like the last 5 years, most of this stuff. The one I dealt with is near the end, but just so you guys know what to look out for. And yeah, don't just give your money to anybody. Make sure it's like it's someone that you really trust. Even actually, if you trust them, never mind. Don't give your money to anybody because these people were like friends and family too that they ripped off. But let's just go through some highlights of these. And yeah, so you'll see what I'm talking about here. Everyone knows probably this one here. Insolvent Northern Ontario real estate group accused of misusing tens of millions of dollars. And these are the guy, that TV star guy, and I think there's someone was from Hamilton or whatever, owes use of fund owes over 144 million to lenders, over 1.7 million to northern municipalities. I guess that's in taxes and development fees maybe, and millions of dollars in questionable transfers. And that was it. A former child actor and business partners with major real estate holdings in Northern Ontario being charged. And yeah, you know who I'm talking about if you follow this kind of stuff. The money is meant to purchase, maintain, and renovate more than 600 properties, most of them in Northern Ontario. I'm not going to go through all the details of this. I got a lot to go through here. But I guess the moral of this story is these guys, I don't think, started this as a real estate scam. They weren't looking to con people out of the money, but the market changed, things happened. But all of a sudden, you know, they knew the ship was sinking and they just went and started blowing everyone's money on private jets and private rooms at nightclubs and whatever else. So it turned into good intentions, you know, wildly optimistic good intentions, to let's just burn through as much cash as we can. It seems like that anyway, because they misused a lot of the money at the end of the day when the ship was sinking. Here's an interesting one here. 3 charged after allegedly selling home they didn't own in Toronto. Woman, 2 men arrested while trying to access funds at York Region Bank, police say. According to police, the 2 men and a woman pretended to be the owners of a property in January 2023, while the real owners were out of the country. The men and woman initiated the sale of the home by fraudulent means. The home was sold, and the proceeds from the sale were collected by the men and woman. With the help of York Regional Police, they were arrested while trying to withdraw the money. The Financial Crimes Unit then charged the 3. Again, all the links for these articles are in the description, so go ahead and read them, get the full story. The most charming fraudster in real estate. From a young age, Courtney Wallace Simpson had big plans, and she was ruthlessly ambitious when it came to achieving them. To finance her lifestyle, she hatched a series of property schemes that would cost her victims, more than 100 of them, millions of dollars. And this article goes into the details, I believe, with one of the guys and how he conned her for $250,000 on a deposit on some vacant land somewhere on the outskirts of Toronto. And yeah, she did this to many people. Her husband was the broker of record at the real estate brokerage, and it was their brokerage. I forget the name of the thing, but anyway, it's in there. Craziness, like knowingly just con men, con woman in this case, scamming people out of money, knowing this is, it wasn't like the things happened and they just had to steal the money because they were desperate. They knew this going in. They were doing this to make millions of dollars for themselves. Greed. And then this same woman, former Stouffville realtor, previously jailed for Ponzi scheme, charged again an alleged mortgage scam. So she wasn't done. She's a career criminal con artist, this lady. This is all she knows. Like, these people thrive off of this. They're not like they're just hungry and desperate. They literally thrive off this. They love it. Their whole life is a scam. And there she is, Courtney Wallace Simpson. Husband Kenneth Simpson had been hit with more than 100 charges. And she got charged again in a mortgage scam after the initial charges of ripping everyone else off. Ottawa man arrested for fake investment scam where victims lost over $240,000. And this is the important part here. The man is accused of running a fake investment scam, defrauding friends and acquaintances of over $240,000, wrote the Ottawa Police Services in a news release. So friends and acquaintances, it doesn't matter. You could be your friend. You've known them for 20 years and they're just going to rip you off. So again, don't trust anybody. Make sure that those funds are backed up or going through. Like, I don't even know. Like, there's so many things that you have to check when you're dealing with these, investing in real estate, because that's what they're doing. They're coming to you and say, I got a great investment. I got some private money you can lend to somebody, get a great return. But you got to make sure your lawyer's involved and their lawyer's involved, and make sure you check everything out. This is from Montreal, I believe, here. The rise and fall of Canada's alleged grandparent scam king. And this guy looks evil. Geez. He flaunted fortunes and success. Now he's wanted for allegedly masterminding Canada's largest grandparent scam network. Wearing a close-fitting dress shirt, shiny or skinny jeans, and black leather loafers, 42-year-old Gareth West stood in front of a modest, white-walled home on the outskirts of Montreal in 2022 and laid out the blueprint to get rich through real estate. By many measures, West was successful. He moonlighted as an amateur bodybuilder, drove expensive cars, owned a yacht, traveled often, and hosted parties at his home in Montreal and his penthouse in downtown Toronto. Except West's public persona as a real estate developer, carefully crafted through years of buying apartment complexes in southern Ontario and building homes in Montreal suburbs, was a facade. Here's one pretty recent here. Not a surprise. Calgary realtor banned for life over $3.5 million fraud, then asks why it took so long. The guy, so let me get this. I got to read this more. So they went through the whole process, found him guilty of fraud and whatever else they did, again, misconduct, whatever else. And this is his response. Drinkwater responds. This is the guy's name. I really don't know why the panel took so long to release its decision, he said. It's not a surprise. I've been in total agreement with it, and I have been since day one. So this guy totally agreed. Yeah, I ripped everyone off, and I whatever. And he's like, I don't know why it took so long. This is insane. Calgary real estate fraud leaves dozens of investors fighting to recover millions. The fallout has been far-reaching, a multi-million-dollar civil lawsuit and demise of one of Canada's top-selling real estate offices. Here's one from the GTA. GTA homebuyers sue sales associate over alleged deposit fraud scheme. Victims claim they paid deposits on homes never built. Builder denies involvement. Now, I believe this one is still pending. I don't think it's actually been to court and the decision has been made. So, again, innocent until proven guilty. I'm not saying this guy is guilty, but anyway, they're claiming he is guilty with these allegations here. A 28-year-old Brampton man is facing criminal charges and 2 civil lawsuits over what multiple plaintiffs allege is a pre-construction real estate scam that defrauded GTA homebuyers of hundreds of thousands of dollars in deposits. Were these legitimate pre-cons? Because a lot of people lost a lot of money in legitimate pre-cons. But no, these are like, they never got the pre-cons. Listen to what one of the victims said here. It's a hard lesson to learn, she said. I do want a home, but I'm scared because now I don't know if it's going to be the same thing again. How do I believe somebody or trust somebody now? And after that article came out, dozens more alleged victims come forward as Brampton man accused in real estate fraud faces new charges. And he says, Moise Kunwar says he'll defend all allegations. Peel police issue warning about him. They say members of the public are urged to avoid any transactional interactions with Moise Kunwar, spokesperson Constable Tyler Bell Morena said. Now on to Canada's biggest con man that I actually met and I actually dealt with. And I'm going to tell you the story at the end, but I just want to go through some articles first on him. Here he is here. His name is Anthony Pierce. And I'm just going to scroll over to where they talk about whatever he's charged with. Now, this one was from 2016. I met him before this in 2015. He's been doing this for decades, this guy. This guy is like a dirty, rotten scoundrel. So if you ever see this guy or hear from him, watch out. He does go by aliases too, but yeah, he is out there. He's a career criminal, career con man. So watch out. And the sad thing is he's done this so many times and, so many people have called the police and nothing's happened so many times. Like he's only been arrested, I don't know how many times, but he has defrauded hundreds of people by the sounds of it. And here it is up here. Actually, he wasn't even arrested at this point. He was on the most wanted list at this point. Police are also looking for the following men: Anthony Pierce, 50 of Niagara Falls, and Jacob Peralta of Hamilton. Pierce is sought for 2 counts of fraud over $5,000, uttering a forged document, and breach of probation. And anyway, it goes on. So let's check out some of the headlines from this guy here. Niagara Falls couple charged in connection to real estate fraud investigation. A couple from Niagara Falls have been arrested and charged with fraud in connection to a real estate scam that cost a Lincoln homeowner $35,000. You think it's not a lot of money, but listen to the circumstances here. A subsequent investigation found that in November 2021, the owner of a rural property in Lincoln near Fly Road and Camden Road was approached by a couple who claimed to be interested in buying the property. In the weeks that followed, police said that the homeowner and the couple agreed on a purchase price of $5.6 million and drew up contracts through real estate agents and legal counsel. So yeah, this guy scams the real estate agents. He doesn't have like dirty realtors working for him. Like he's that good. And he always goes after high-end properties. He doesn't stop and go for the bottom feeder stuff. He goes in like he's a rich guy, and I'll show you some of his propaganda now in a minute. The homeowner eventually moved from the home in anticipation of the deal closing, but after repeated delays and more detailed reviews of the sales paperwork, it was found that the couple had used fraudulent documents. The deal was canceled as a result, but not before the homeowner had spent $35,000 in moving and legal fees. Now, they, of course, moved out of the house, and this happens all the time. You'll move out of your house. Sometimes he'll convince you that he's going to move in and rent it because he wants to wait 6 months to close it. So now this guy's living in your house for free. I don't think this happened with these people, but I've heard stories and I've dealt with people that have told me straight up, like, this is what happened. And they're embarrassed to talk about it. Like, they don't want to go to the police, most people, because they're so embarrassed. These are, proper people, professional people who get scammed by this nut job. And here's a more recent one. Niagara Falls man arrested after Las Vegas real estate agent calls police. A Niagara Falls man has been charged in connection with a real estate fraud case. This came after a real estate agent in Las Vegas contacted police after suspecting an individual from Niagara, 58-year-old Anthony Pierce, was attempting to defraud him and his client over a property deal. Following an investigation, Pierce was arrested for breaching his conditional sentence, which stemmed from a 2022 fraud conviction. And here is a post on Facebook from Niagara 411. It's a local news kind of agency. Now, this was back. I don't believe there's news allowed. But anyway, this was from February 26th, actually this year. And they talk about how he got arrested again. And now he's going to be in jail. And check out some of the comments here. Like, everybody knows this guy. And it was just crazy because it's like you're not allowed to do like a public service announcement on this guy because it's just not allowed. And we've had things like certain offices in the area will send inter-office emails, some of the bigger offices, so like the agents know. But again, over time, people forget his name. So here's one. Yeah, he was doing this over and over again in Niagara Falls a few years back and got quite famous among the Niagara agents. And he did. Everybody knew who he was. But again, only if you talk to agents that you knew. And these stories are endless here, right? So here's one here, Carlo DeSantis. In my experience with him, it's terrible scam and more of a Hail Mary attempt to transfer the title in his name. I don't believe he's ever been successful in his attempts. He shows up and talks a big game. And he's a hot whatever and leases jets. Yeah, he talks about he's got his father was rich and they have a jet leasing company, and I'll show you that in a second. Actually, name drops big players in town and says they're friends and business partners. Anyway, this is what he does, and he distracts you. He'll say, "I want to lease this house, but let's go look at this house because I'm going to buy it later on, or I'm going to build my own house." And he's very good at the distraction tactics. So you're, okay, we're dealing with this lease here, but no, we got bigger fish to fry over here. And this is what he does. He's a professional. He brings his family and ooh and ah, and the kids pick out their rooms and pretend to take measurements. And then the deal never closes because he never sends money. He wastes my time and money in 2013. And that was, somebody was Anna Morocco there. And I've heard other stories. I was actually at a lunch with somebody and I just brought something up, not even his name. And he goes, "Let me guess, Anthony Pierce?" And he told me a story, this person I was at lunch with, how this guy was in his house talking he wants to buy this furniture and everything else. And anyway, luckily this owner figured it out. But again, he wasted a lot of time before he figured it out. Here's one here, Clarissa Rigas. He screwed over my husband's clients. We filed a complaint about him way back when. He's been doing this for years and years and keeps doing it. And our justice system just keeps letting him. He's been doing this for years. He's been arrested a few times, but still continues. There's a bunch here. I skipped by them all, but it's just endless. I'm not just going to bore you going on. So there's like tons of these in here, but last one here. He tried it on me with my elderly seller clients in Caligero Estates. So Caligero is like one of the nicest areas in Niagara Falls. I caught him before it was too late. Cops won't do anything and don't seem to care. I'm surprised this guy still has kneecaps. Haven't seen him since this was in 2024. Most local realtors are aware of him and his wife, feel terrible for their kids. And I was in that same neighborhood with this guy. We like literally knocked on someone's door and he wanted to buy the lot next door, and he was talking about giving deposits. I didn't realize the guy was a scam artist at the time, but he led a lot of people down this road. And yeah, what a sleaze bag. And this is what he does. He talks about, I'm this big businessman. I have jets. So here he is, Anthony Pierce Limited on D&B Business Directory, right? And this is his address here. And he talks about his industries actually first. Travel accommodation, land subdivision, accommodation food services. He's got this whole fake profile, and he's got lots of different fake profiles. Revenue, $28.70 million was the revenue. And here is the address that he's using here. Let's check out this address here, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I'm very familiar with this place. This is McLeod Road. This is actually not far from my house. And here's where his office is. Here, we'll do a street view. So this is where he lists his office as, let's go back here, Anthony Pierce Limited. Sometimes it's Anthony something with jets or whatever he talks about. But this is where he says his office is. A bunch of food places in here, laundromats. Like there's no office in here, but he has it listed as his office. It's hilarious. So again, those stories are endless, but I want to tell you my story and how I dealt with him and what happened. And it's kind of embarrassing, but he's good. This guy's good. Until you get involved with it, you don't realize what's happening. So it was 2015 or so, and I had a house listed for lease. I didn't sell this house to the buyer or to the owner, but he bought it through the builder and got in touch with me somehow through another contact. Let's lease this place out. And this guy, the owner, had money, and it was probably one of the biggest houses or biggest lots in this neighborhood. And of course, it was hard to lease out back then, especially at that price point. But this guy comes, Anthony Pierce, and, he tells you how he got his money and whatever else. And so, we're going through the application process, and screening wasn't as stringent back then, let's just say, because we weren't doing a lot of leasing in Niagara. Things have changed since then, but back then it was a lot easier for him to get through that initial screening when you're renting a place. But so this guy ends up leasing the place, and whatever. What's done is done. But at that time, he did drag me to like this commercial property in St. Catharines and this place in Caligula Estates where he wanted to buy the lot next door to this house. And we're in this guy's house and this doctor, and he's talking about buying this lot. Like, it was crazy. It was like literally dragging me around, and I fell for it. So 6 months later, the owner of this property calls me after this guy's been living there, right? The owner of the property calls me and he says, John, something's not right. I'm coming down there, and post a note on this guy's door. I want giving him 24 hours notice that we're coming in, because I want to check that the appliances are there, because he said he bought new appliances. So when he rented this house, the appliances that the builder gave were small, and he picked this out, and it was, he knew what to prey on. And they were. It was like this big house with this single door fridge and this opening that was way too big for it. So he was going on to the owner, and he said, look, I can't live with these appliances. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm renting this house. And the owner's like, yeah, he understands, right? So he's playing on this. So the guy says, look, I'll just go buy the appliances. The tenant, Anthony Pierce, this con artist, he says, I'll go buy the appliances, and you just give me whatever, a month or two rent free, and I'll pay for them. So the owner says, yeah, you know what? That's perfect. Because the owner's a busy rich guy. He doesn't have time to deal with this, right? And we're not managing the property for him either. I was here, rented out, and I'm out of there. So this guy, the owner didn't believe him. But what happened was the guy went to the brick, got a quote for these appliances, and showed them to the owner and said, I bought them. Meanwhile, he never bought any appliances, so he gets 2 months free. Then another thing he said in that 6 month period was, the property tax bill came from the city, and I opened it by accident. Sorry, but it's like whatever, $3,000 or $6,000 or whatever it was. Do you want me to just pay it, and you can just take it off my rent, or I won't pay you for 2 months? And the guy's like, sure, yeah, that makes sense. Just go pay the property tax, right? So he's doing this to him. Okay, that's like the tip of the iceberg. In that same time, again, distraction, right? The owner says, hey, talking about some condo in Toronto and you might sell it. This guy goes, I need a condo for my daughter in Toronto. And she's going to school up there. And this, where is it? Oh, this is perfect. So the owner of the house, of the rental property. He makes a deal. Okay, he's going to sell this guy the condo. Well, so he moves all his stuff out. This guy's up there for like 2 weekends in a row. Like, well, let me check it out. I want to, live in it. So anyway, he moves all the stuff out. When he's up there, the guy had a Lamborghini. The owner had a Lamborghini, and he loves cars. He's always had really nice cars. Anthony goes, I've been looking for one of these Lamborghinis. I want to buy it for you. I'm gonna do it with the deal with the condo. So I'm gonna buy this Lamborghini. So anyway, the owner goes, all right, yeah, you want to buy? Yeah, we'll give it to me for a weekend, and I want to drive. So he's driving around in the guy's Lamborghini, and then the owner tells me all this. Anyway, so the guy realizes, because he doesn't close on the condo, and then he's like, oh, something's going on here. So he says, like, I want to come down. So he comes down to Niagara, and he calls the cops, because I gave 24 hours notice. But he said, I want the cops there to keep the peace. So we go to the house, and there's Anthony, and Anthony comes and he says, you're not coming in here. And the cops are there, and the cops didn't know what to do. And he's yelling, he's like, get the F out of here. You come on this property, I'm going to throw you off, right? And the cops didn't know what to do. And so the cops are calling the supervisor. We've got all these cops there. The cops said, look, this guy has the right of possession. He says, you have ownership rights. He has possessionary rights. You cannot go on that property. And the cops don't deal with landlord-tenant board stuff anymore. They said, if you go on that property, he can physically throw you off. So now the owner's down, can't even go on the property to confirm the appliances are there. And we knew they weren't, but he just wanted verification. And now he has to evict the guy. So, of course, we have to go through the whole eviction process. And this guy sends some paralegal. Anthony sends some paralegal in there. Anyway, he finally gets evicted, and, he was done with rent. He's like, let's just sell this house. So he ended up selling the house. So it was like this insane story. Like, this story is a true story. I'm not making this stuff up, obviously. So years later, I'm dealing, this is like 8 years later, I'm dealing with some rental properties not far off in the neighborhood. And the leasing manager comes to me with this application, or I see them come in, and she says, look, we got this application. And I said, okay, I look at it. It's from Tony Pierce. It's this guy. And the thing is listed in my name. What does this guy think? He's just desperate applying for places. So this is what he does. He just goes around conning people, but he also tries to commit mortgage fraud and title fraud and all these kinds of things. He'll do whatever he can, but he is ruthless. So watch out. This guy's in Ontario, and his wife's involved. She was in the news article, charged also. But yeah, what a scumbag. Watch out. Anyway, let me know in the comments, have you seen or heard of any firsthand experience with scam artists, real estate scam artists in Canada? And if so, let me know the details. Drop them in the comments below. But until next week, I'll see you then.